To be honest with you, I wasn't sure how it would feel coming back here. Every day, I think about what you said to me that day on the bridge. I've tried to live my life the best I could. I hope that was enough. I hope that at least in your eyes, I've earned what all of you have done for me.
This video is the ending scene of the 1998 movie Saving Private Ryan, directed by Steven Spielberg. I feel that the movie Saving Private Ryan could be made less depressing if it had a different ending. First, I will give you a summary of the movie, then I will describe the real ending, and finally I will explain my alternate ending. Let's start with the summary of the movie. This movie is a war drama set during the invasion of Normandy during World War II. The movie starts in the late 1990s, showing an elderly World War II vet, which we later find out is Private Ryan, along with his family at the Normandy American Cemetery in France. The veteran comes across a specific gravestone and collapses to his knees, overwhelmed with emotion. The movie then jumps back to June 6, 1944, at the beginning of the Normandy invasion. This scene shows American troops landing on Omaha Beach and the battle that ensues thereafter. Meanwhile, in Washington, D.C., at the United States War Department, General George Marshall is informed that 3 out of the 4 Ryan brothers have been killed in action. He later learns, and their mother is to receive all 3 telegrams on the same day. He later learns that the 4th brother, Private First Class James Francis Ryan, is missing in action somewhere in Normandy. He then orders that Private Ryan be brought back and sent home immediately. He then goes to Mrs. Ryan's house to give her the news. 3 days after D-Day, Captain Miller receives orders to find Ryan and bring him back from the front. He assembles 7 men from his company: Tech Sergeant Mike Horvath, Privates First Class Richard Ryman and Adrian Caparzo, Privates Stanley Mellish and Danny Jackson, Medic Erwin Wade, and Technician 5th Grade Timothy Upham. They eventually find a member of Ryan's regiment, and he informs them that his drop zone was at Veerville and that their companies had the same rally point. Once they reach the rally point, they meet one of Ryan's friends who tells them that he is guarding a strategically important bridge over the Meridet River in the town of Ramelle. On the way to Ramelle, the group gets into a skirmish with some German soldiers, and the lone German survivor, Steamboat Willie, is set free by Miller on the condition that he turn himself in as a prisoner of war to the first unit of Allied troops he encounters. Once they finally reach Ramelle, they find Ryan in a small group of paratroopers. Miller tells Ryan of his brother's deaths, the mission to find him, and that 2 men were killed on the way to get him. Ryan tells Miller to tell his mother that he intends to stay with the only brothers that he has left and defend the bridge. Miller and his group decide to stay as well. Miller forms ambush positions around the ruined town for the tanks and infantry. Now that I've given you a summary of the movie, let's take a look at the real ending. The real ending starts when Captain Miller is attempting to blow the bridge and is shot by Steamboat Willie, who has rejoined the Germans. Just as a tank is about to cross the bridge, an American plane flies over and destroys it, followed by American armored units, which cause the Germans to retreat. Upham sees a group of Germans retreating, and Steamboat Willie raises his arms, thinking that Upham will accept, but because Upham saw Steamboat Willie shoot Captain Miller, he shoots Steamboat Willie and lets the other Germans escape. After the Germans have retreated, Ryman and Ryan go to Miller, who is sitting on the bridge after being shot in the chest. Ryman goes to find a medic for Miller. Ryan is with Miller as he dies and says his final words: "James, earn this. Earn it."
Sir, P-50 once.
Angels on our shoulders.
What, sir?
James. Goodness. Ernest.
James is then sent home to his mother. This movie then jumps to when James is an old man and standing at Miller's grave, which is the scene you saw at the beginning of this speech. Ryan then asks his wife if he has led a good life and if he is a good man and thus worthy of the sacrifice of Captain Miller and those that gave their lives for him. She replies, "You are," and then he then stands at attention and salutes Miller's grave. Now that I've described the real ending, let's take a look at my alternate ending. I feel that this movie would be less depressing if Captain Miller survived his gunshot wound. In my ending, they were able to get Captain Miller to a doctor before he died. He returned from the war a hero along with Ryan. He was able to return to his wife and his job as an English teacher and have 2 kids. He died on June 16, 1990 in his sleep. The ending scene would still stay the same, except Ryan wouldn't have to go to a cemetery in France. He would just go to a little cemetery in Pennsylvania where Miller is buried. In conclusion, I first gave you a summary of the movie, then I described the real ending of Saving Private Ryan, and then I explained my alternate ending. The movie Saving Private Ryan could be made less depressing if it had a different ending. Just think how much less sad this movie would be if Ryan got to go home from the war with the man who saved his life.